Hey everyone, welcome to the Horror PSA presented by Scary Nerd, and as always, we are your hosts. I'm Paul.
I'm Saul.
And I'm Angie.
The following is a public service announcement.
A research team in Antarctica is hunted by a shape-shifting alien that assumes the appearance of its victims. That's right, it's John Carpenter birthday month, and we did 1982's The Thing, which happens to be a personal favorite of John Carpenter.
So good.
Yes.
It is a classic. I love
That
this movie.
I mean, Keith David, right?
Keith David, Kurt Russell.
Yeah. Everybody. Keith David is such a badass in this movie.
Diabetes, Wilford Brimley.
Diabetes, yes. And he's a badass in this movie. He puts his fingers into a guy's face in this movie.
He goes nuts and he tries to shoot everybody.
So remember last week I said I hadn't seen this movie all the way through?
Did you lie?
No. Here's what I remember about it. I remember like the first half of it, and the only reason why I remember the first half of it is because when we were kids, we would take the bus to Mexico and they would show movies.
Oh.
And like the first half of it, I remember just watching it in Spanish. So as the stuff is going, all of a sudden my, what do you want to call it, nostalgia or my memories kicked in.
Yeah.
And all I can hear was the Spanish dubbed versions of it.
Hey, that happened to me with Troll 2, remember? When the kid peed on stuff, it unlocked that memory in my brain.
That's what happened because I remember that
Watch
now.
Troll 2 in Spanish?
No, not in Spanish.
No, but that memory unlocked, and then the reason why I remember the first half, and I think what happened is I fell asleep halfway through it. That's why I didn't see all of it. I think when I woke up was at the very end when you see Kurt Russell and what's his name,
Keith David.
Childs and
McCready.
And that's when Saul got a new family because he woke up and everybody had left him.
He found a nice new Mexican family.
He went home with a new family. No more dub tapes.
No more dub tapes. Okay.
Damn it. All right.
The UFO in this, I do love this movie, but watching it in 2020, you can see how it's aged.
Yeah.
And not that it's super bad, because I don't think John Carpenter ever went way heavy into like CGI or anything. He does a lot of practical effects, which really, keep things the way that they wanted them to look in the day. But that UFO and stuff, it's
Looks
kind
so
of more
dated.
like art and paintings and stuff.
Okay, but that was also kind of an homage to like the original one.
Yeah, it did give that feel. Yeah.
So that beginning shot, especially like the Earth and all that,
and then the intro, isn't the intro the same?
Yes, and I read in the trivia that they were able to do that Thing logo. They had it written out on a piece of like animation cell, and they put it behind a fish tank filled with smoke that was covered with a black trash bag. So then they lit the black trash bag on fire, and then that's how you get like that where it kind of burns away kind of effect. So I mean, even the fucking title card was practical effects.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I love about this movie. There's so many like just practical things. One of the visual effects artists, Rob Bottin, was only 22 years old at the time of this.
Jeez.
And he made basically the monsters, like, because one of the things that Carpenter didn't care for when Alien came out, he's like, you can tell that's just a guy in a suit. Like, you add all the stuff, but at the very end of the day, it's just a guy in a suit.
Yeah.
He's like, so I wanted to have stuff that wasn't just a guy in a suit. So this guy, Rob, I didn't get a chance to look at whatever he did in his career, but he was only 22 at the time, and he basically worked himself to exhaustion to where he had to take like a few weeks off because he was just there like 24 hours a day, like living on set, like just working and making all these things. And then Stan Winston had to kind of come in and help out for a few weeks on a few stuff while the guy was like recovering from exhaustion. So yeah, like people fucking put their fucking sweat and balls into this fucking movie.
It's a great movie. It pays off.
Credit to all the practical effects, because I mean, if you take the opening scene out with the cheesy UFO special effects or whatever it need be, if you can imagine them trying to do that into this movie, it would have made it age terribly.
Yeah.
But I think the practical effects, even though they're old, still make this movie good.
Oh yeah, I even like when they find the ship, when McCready takes them and they find the ship. You can tell it's it's artwork back, and then you know
it's like cell
forced
on cell,
perfection.
like,
For the forced perspective. perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Forced perspective is what I meant to say.
Forced perfected.
Yes.
The movie is old. It came out in 82, but the thing about it though is,
What are you trying to say about things from the 80s, man?
hey, I was born in the 80s, but
You're saying we're old?
I know we're old, but here's the thing about it though. Even though it is 38 years old, the only thing that looks old in the movie is the fact that all the actors that we know are young.
Yeah, and no,
Not
Kurt
Wilford
Russell.
Brimley. I think he looks the same.
Kurt
until he
Russell's a
died last
baby
August.
face, and I'm like, hey, Kurt Russell.
Because you look at all the characters. You look at all the actors now. You look at Kurt Russell. You look at Wilford Brimley. You look at Keith David. They've all aged, obviously, because they've gotten older. So when you see this and you see how young they are, still though it holds up, even though it's that old of a movie.
You know what my favorite part of this movie is? McCready's Yosemite Sam hat. I love it.
It's like the pick guy.
It's such a ridiculous caricature of a hat for him.
Yes.
But it works. I mean, it works. And that's
do you
people
really-
know him from that.
And do you really need that hat to fly the helicopter?
Goddamn right I do. Goddamn right
Like,
I
in
do.
case shit goes south, this is also a parachute.
I have to contain this mullet somehow.
It's
Okay.
what is it? Superstition. Like you know how certain people have
Yeah.
to do something that way. That's
Well,
gotta be
okay.
his.
Side note, it took Kurt Russell a year to grow that beard and the hair as long as it was.
Wow.
So he
Well
was growing
done.
it out for a full year. Second, they don't really allude to it in the movie as the finished version, but I think there are deleted scenes and, other things. But basically, McCready was a Vietnam helicopter pilot.
Okay.
And he had PTSD and insomnia, which is why he was hardly ever sleeping.
Yeah.
And why he was always drinking.
I thought it was so funny how, in the first 5 minutes of meeting him, he crashes that computer.
Oh yeah, he gets mad and calls
He
her a
gets
lying
mad.
bitch.
Yeah, it's like, you
Yeah,
cheating bitch. Like, okay, calm down.
That computer was voiced by Adrienne Barbeau, by the way.
Was it? I
Cameo.
didn't notice.
She was married to John Carpenter at the time. Yeah, I love that. It's because I really feel like that gives you that sense of they're already at the end of their fucking rope.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
Just with
done.
boredom and whatever the fuck they're doing. Because we don't even know what they're actually doing there.
They never say.
It just says expedition to blah blah blah, post whatever.
Research. What are they researching?
I don't
Nobody
know.
knows.
They're just there.
McCready is the helicopter pilot. There's a couple of guys that are doctors, and then Knowles is the cook. Windows is the radio guy,
Yeah.
and then it's we don't know what the fuck anybody
Body
else
man,
does. Well,
javelin.
Yeah, you had the javelin if need be.
The hippie.
Yeah,
Because that's the one thing I was trying to
Palmer
figure
is
out
my
too.
favorite. Palmer,
Yeah.
the hippie Palmer. And you're like, yeah, man, chariot of the gods.
That was the other thing I was trying to figure out too. Is why are they there? Because everybody has a role. And you just went down there. So when they started showing everybody, okay, he's there for that. You have this person there for that, and it's okay, what are they here for? What are they?
Clark
doing?
was the dog guy, and then Gary just was the guy with the fucking keys, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his whole thing. He was like, I have big eyebrows and keys. I don't know what the fuck else to do.
I had a very deep voice.
Pepperidge Farms, remember?
Yeah, so it shows them all bored as shit, and then out of nowhere, this husky just comes into camp.
Again, the one thing I'm like, why are if you hadn't seen this movie, you still feel bad because they're taking shots at a poor dog. It's just running
Oh, that
around.
dog! That dog was a fucking great actor.
Yeah.
It was a few dogs.
It was. I figured it was,
The-
but when they get that dog just to stand there and stare, just not
Yeah.
looking menacing, not making any noise, but just dead set stare.
That-
I'm
yeah.
this is weird behavior for
That
a
was
dog.
the main dog that they filmed, and they were like, he was the greatest actor ever. He wouldn't look at the crew. Because you look at all those shots, they're tracking shots where you obviously have to be moving this whole camera setup, and it's dog didn't break character, didn't look. It was he was dead on the whole time. The other one that
He
did
was
the
a very
running,
good boy.
The other one that did the running, they actually just kind of dyed his hair to make him look like this other dog because they're like, all right, we can't use him for this part apparently. So at least
Well,
they
that
can
was
look
a
the
lot of
same.
running. They didn't want to
Well,
exhaust
that's true.
the
He was
talent.
like,
all right?
you're great. You're great. We're gonna stunt dog to do this
Yeah.
fucking run. It's like in Forrest Gump. They made his brother do the stand-in parts for all those far shots. From Forrest running across. It was actually his brother. So it's
What?
we don't.
Well, yeah, you don't want to exhaust the talent, man. They gotta act.
It was you're dispensable.
You learned something new. I love that.
But no
movie.
one
I
knows
never
your
knew
name, Hank's brother.
Hank's brother, Hank number 2.
Hank stand-in, but I'm his brother. Whatever, man. Just get over there.
Sure you are, Jeff.
that. Tim Hanks.
Jeff Hanks.
Tim Hanks.
Cecil.
Cecil.
There
All
you
right,
go.
we're going on a whole tale of Tom Hanks brothers. I don't know.
Welcome to the Hanks podcast.
But I like the whole isolation and their whole setting for this film is amazing. I mean, I know it's a callback to the original, right? The 50s one. But it's like it just creates the whole isolation. You don't need to introduce any other isolation into it. But it does, because they start isolating themselves off as the thing starts to spread, and then they notice that the thing is spreading.
I really like to consider this like a horror whodunit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's definitely an isolation whodunit body horror kind of.
And you have that whole, I mean, the fact that they're in Antarctica and all that, and it's like you have the, you know, the elements as another, you know, character that you have to deal with almost. Because it's like, okay, it's one thing if we figure out who's been infected or whatever, but the other thing is like, as you see at the end, is like, we have no shelter.
Yeah.
Like it's, you know, going to be 100 below in a few hours. Like they were fighting the clock on that.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you know, the aliens or
other.
whatever. So
yeah.
It's like there's all these different things that's kind of just rolled into this one movie that it's like every turn there's something. It's like I said, the elements or the aliens or just people going crazy and, you know, God knows what.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that this movie taught me too is if you're going to be isolated from a bunch of people for I don't know how, like an undisclosed amount of time.
Yeah.
Find out who is the nearest people next to you and
Yeah,
find someone who speaks that
you
damn
need to
language.
know your neighbors in this area. Okay.
But you say know your neighbors, but they had to take the fucking helicopter to get to their fucking neighbors.
Still,
But how much
know your
fuel is that?
neighbors.
But how much fuel is that you're burning just to go see who it is?
if you are isolated, I would want to know, like,
Know your
if shit
neighbors.
goes
Hey,
down.
well, they have radios that apparently there's no one. Okay,
But here's
you know
the-
what?
like,
if you're in
yeah.
Antarctica, here are your neighbors. No one.
But still, though, know who your neighbors are and who the next people are you. Because what? They were Norwegian?
Yeah, Norwegian. So
Have
they didn't know
somebody
that guy
that
was saying.
speaks Norwegian
Well,
in
how are
case
they
shit
supposed
goes
to
down.
know that there were Norwegians there? Like, what office in Antarctica do you go to register?
Well, okay, in the 80s, I'll give you that.
Okay, that's
All
what I'm saying. Like, you don't know what the fuck's out there.
Now it's probably a little more centralized.
If they knew about their neighbors, the neighbors could be like, like, what the? Does anyone speak Norwegian? I don't know.
I would have found somebody at least that knows a little bit about it because it all could have been avoided if somebody spoke Norwegian and then they would have known to kill the dog.
So when they were planning this expedition thing, they're like, okay, just in case we need somebody that speaks Norwegian.
Yes.
No,
You
knowing
never
what I know
who-
now.
You never know who our neighbors are.
No, this is me.
so
Like I
you're-
said,
Yeah, this
This
is
is
all
what- this is
knowing
me
now,
learning.
not
So
in the
fine.
beginning.
Like, yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. So if we ever go to Antarctica, we have to have a Norwegian speaking.
no,
person.
I'm going to
Like,
find out who else is on that country because you can probably find out now.
Google it right now.
They probably have Facebooks now.
Google
And you find out who it
You
is
just type in North Pole on Facebook.
there's just a camera.
and find
Yeah.
somebody that at least speaks the other language. So if they got a bunch of Mexicans down there, I'll be fine because I speak Spanish and
There
we'll
you
be
go.
good.
I guarantee there's no Mexicans in
Another
there.
character in this film, just like all John Carpenter films, is the music.
Yes.
Got
This
the tension.
one was actually scored not by John Carpenter. This one was scored by Ennio Morricone, who is famous for working with Sergio Leone, The Good, Bad, and the Ugly tune,
Yeah.
Ecstasy of Gold. That's
Yeah.
the same guy that did this.
Okay.
And even though it is not John Carpenter, Morricone starts it off with that deep, slow bass that
Yeah.
John Carpenter is known for.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, all right. He's like, I know what you're going for. Let me put your stuff, and then let me show you what I
It
got.
reminded me of They Live,
Yeah.
that tempo that he has.
It's just like
yeah.
it's the same thing. It's like we're getting. That's what I love about John Carpenter movies. Is like even though they're 80s and all that, and they start slow like all the movies did back then. It's got that bass build up, and it's like that tension, kind of like, all right, something's gonna happen now. Like things are getting going. It's
Yeah.
not gonna be good.
Yeah. And then, I mean, right away something's happening because they're just shooting at this dog. And then he just continues to shoot even when people are in the background and we can't understand him because
He
he's
gives no
Norwegian.
fucks. He's like,
I always thought it was funny to them, like when they're standing there and like shooting, and then like I forget who it was, but they kind of like step back and like slip a little bit, like, oh shit, he's shooting at us.
Yeah.
The thing that cracked me up though is when I want to say pilot dropped the grenade.
Oh, yeah, in the snow. Like, stop looking for it, dude.
and I'm
Run
like,
away.
Just get the fuck out of there. Like, you were dead no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
There's no point. Like, maybe that's his thing. He's like, well, if I try and run, I'm going to get shrapnel and it's going to be a lot of pain.
He should have just realized at the
still be
minute
alive,
that he
but-
went back to throw it and it fell out of his hand. He should have been like, "Fuck it, I'm out of here."
All that tells me is Norwegians can't throw. That's all.
Well, it's cold up there. I don't know how much they play baseball or anything.
Yeah, I know. Have you ever seen a Norwegian baseball player? That's what I'm saying.
I have not, but I've never been to Norway.
Is
So.
there a Norwegian baseball team? We should, Kim, look that up, please.
Yeah, we
In
need
the
to know
Olympics.
if the Norwegians
Is there a Norwegian
play
baseball team in the Olympics? That's all I want to know.
They probably dominate in the
I
Winter
bet they do
Olympics.
that like ski shooting thing.
They could.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's okay. Winter sports. I'm not doubting their capacity to do winter sports.
Okay.
I'm talking
About
about
their
summer
summer
ball.
sports.
Okay?
Yeah.
But it's not like you throw the fucking disc when you skeet shoot.
No.
No, I was talking about where they're on the skis and then they shoot, not
that's
ski
but that's
shooting.
Ski shooting.
I think meant skeet shooting. I'm like, they're
No.
not throwing the disc. What does that have to do with throwing?
No, I'm
Like,
talking about that Olympic game where they're skiing across things and shoot
I'm like,
shit in
I'm
the
like,
distance.
what are you imagining? Like Ulf is just throwing the fucking
No.
disc and then shooting at it? Like,
I said ski, not skeet.
well, I'm talking about Summer Olympics because Winter Olympics nobody cares about.
Well, I like when McCready takes them to the Norwegian base and you get so much of the backstory in that setting.
Yeah.
Even though they're kind of like, I don't know what the fuck happened here, but you get it. Like there's a dead guy there who clearly committed suicide and froze to death before that happened.
Yeah.
I think that thing that they burned is a human outside. I don't know.
There's a big block of ice in this room where something appears to come out. I don't know. That's not a
Okay.
good sign.
I want to talk about the I don't know if you would call it the prequel or whatever for a minute. All right.
The 2011
Yes. Have you seen it, Saul?
No.
Okay. So I don't really care for it as much as this one, obviously. Like it's not Carpenter. It's not nearly as good. They use a lot of fucking CGI in it, which is
I didn't mind
shitty.
it.
It's not a bad movie, but it's just, whatever. The thing that I do love about the prequel, they tie so much into going into this movie.
Okay.
So the way that one ends is how this one starts.
With the dog?
Yes. Like exactly how it ends.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you could
but-
play it and it'll pick right up when you
Yeah,
start
like you,
the-
it'll like you won't even really notice. Like it like goes right into the beginning of this movie. Like
Might have
it's
to
like
look
it's
at it.
happening
Might have
like
to watch it
right
now.
after this kind of thing. But the one thing that they do as well is when McCready and was it the doctor? I think Dr. Cooper. I don't know who went with them to the other base or
I
whatever.
think it was
base.
Cooper.
Yeah. So when they go in there and they're looking around, when they actually go into the building, there's an axe like in the wall, like in a beam or something. They actually, within the first movie, the prequel one, they actually have a scene where that axe ends up there. So
Nice.
like, I love that they tied
They
that
have that
in.
suicide
Okay.
guy.
Yeah,
like they have a lot of the.
I love how like
I
so
might
much
have to
they
watch that
tied
one
that
then.
all in. So if anything else, like I said, there's shitty CGI which kind of ruins it for me.
Yeah.
But it's not a bad movie.
Okay.
So I just wanted to throw out the whole.
It's a
axe
nice
thing. Yeah.
tie-in.
They
It
do.
is.
They
I
definitely
enjoy
took
it.
a lot of care, and I really enjoy when they tie that shit in like that. Just those subtle little things like that.
I was so confused though when they're at the base or when they're at the Norwegians base and they find that thing outside that's all like burned.
Yeah.
And they're like, let's take it back to autopsy. I'm
Why
like,
the fuck
bitch,
would you do that?
That has two heads. I ain't touching that thing. Like I see
I
two
know. They
They
faces
set
right
that
there.
thing on fire for a reason.
Right, set it on fire a little more. That's what you need to be doing. Make sure that thing is completely burned.
Well, look at how Doc ends up.
Yeah.
So
Doc,
what does that
Doc
tell
was
you?
the only sane one for a while until I think he got taken over by the thing.
No. I'm not talking about Dr. Blair. I'm talking
Okay.
about Doc Cooper.
Oh, yeah.
Doc Cooper.
Yeah.
He's the one that's like, we got to take this, we got to take that. It's
Oh, I
research or
know.
this and that.
Doc.
I'm like, I get it under normal circumstances, but when you saw this disfigured thing that someone tried to burn outside, be like, all right, something really bad happened here. So
Like,
get the
let's
fuck out
nope
of here.
the hell out of here.
Bennings was the redhead.
Yeah, he's the one who got shot.
Yeah, and Bennings was like, oh, when they're moving all the stuff in the supply room to put all the bodies in that other room or whatever, Windows is like, we should just burn them all. And Bennings is like, you can't burn this find of the century. It's like, bitch, you want to see?
Yeah.
Like
I'll
somebody
burn
won the
that.
Nobel Prize for this.
I'm like,
and
yeah,
said
I don't
that.
care. Well, it ain't going to be us because we're fucking burning this shit.
Yep.
It's like, I question how good of a doctor that Doc Cooper could have been because later when they've got when they've got Benning on the table after he stops breathing and all that, when McCready comes back in from inside, how good of a doctor are you when you're putting the defibrillator on someone's stomach and not out their actual heart?
Yeah.
Like, you deserve to get your arms bit off. Like, that was like a big, it reminded me of Audrey 2, like just the big mouth opening up. Like that.
Okay, here's my question for you guys. Who do you think was the first one infected?
Palmer.
You think? Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
think when
I'm
the
pretty
dog
sure,
goes into
'cause-
the room and you see that shadow,
Yeah.
when the dog first like comes out of like he's sneaking around and you see a shadow and it turns around, I think that's Palmer.
My theory that it was what's his face first, Benning, because remember he was the one who. Because the one thing that they said is they weren't sure on how the whatchamacallit infected everybody. Mm-hmm. So when they said, "Oh, we have to start making sure we eat our own foods and we do this and do that."
Yeah.
Well, the one thing I noticed when when the dog first got there, he jumped on him and he licked him. He started licking him.
Yeah, but he didn't get taken, I don't think, until they were moving. When they're moving all that stuff and he comes back and he sees him getting taken by the I think it's the thing they brought back from the Norwegian camp, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because like his body is taken into there, so I don't think he was taken until then.
Okay. Because that's what I was trying to figure out. Was watching it again. I was like, okay, who might have been the first one infected?
Yeah, I think Palmer was, and I think he stayed hidden the longest. I think he was the first infected, and
I think it kind of makes sense if you say like Norris is the one that was infected the longest when you see how like the mouth was just his whole body and like the head was able to detach and still be alive on its own. So I'm like, I don't know, like, because I think that's why I say like, it's like horror whodunit, because the dog comes in and you see it kind of just go up to a few people and then it's just around and it goes under the table until finally they're like, put this fucking dog away.
Yeah, it's like, why say here, put him away?
Interesting tidbit, that shadow, Carpenter didn't have any of the actors do it because he didn't want people to recognize who
Recognize
it
the
might be.
shadow. Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
yeah. Clark would make the most sense to have gotten infected, right?
That made the most sense because he was around the dogs the most.
But he did not get
but he was
infected.
never
Yeah.
infected.
Yeah.
See, so that's the thing too, because I'm like, you would imagine that he was the first one. Like it just makes it seem
Yeah,
that
it
way, and I
makes
think that's
sense.
really what they were going for, to be like, you know, it makes sense. He's the dog guy. It came in through the dog. He was the one that was around the fucking dog. He put them away and all that. So it's like obvious choice, but obviously at the end we see that it wasn't him at all.
No.
Nope.
To
But
pick-
yeah, they tell him to put that the dog away, and then he puts that poor dog. Those poor dogs. I'm always sad at this point. I'm like, not the huskies. They're so pretty.
But to piggyback on a little bit of what Paul said, the thing that I love about it is the whodunit. Because again, when you start seeing stuff unfold, you're like, okay. Because like the thing that I thought from the beginning was, okay, these are the three most prime suspects. Like I said, I thought it was going to be Benning because he was the first one to interact with the dog. Then they make you think it was Clark because he was around the dogs the most. And then you're like, okay, you try to figure it out who it is, and then they just throw you for the loop once you slowly start revealing everybody.
Yeah, I always thought it was Palmer first, and then it just kind of went on from there. And I know that we see a couple people that get taken, like Benning and stuff along the way.
Yeah.
But the dog pen, I remember the dog pen scene, like making me like, oh my God, what is that? When I was a kid, like, you know, like when you first see it and like you first see those visual effects, it's
like, what the
very
fuck is
practical.
this?
Yeah. And it's such a great,
It's so delicious.
it's such a great monster movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really think of this as a monster movie. I think of it as more of like a viral thing, I guess. I don't
It's a
know
creature
why.
movie.
That's the thing. Like it is a creature movie. It is like a isolation movie. Like it's all these like blended things together, which makes it just an even stronger horror movie.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is, like, this movie wasn't received well when it came out. It basically was like a box office bomb at the time. But since it's 82, it found life on VHS, and then it gained a cult following. And
Just like a lot of good movies.
And it became, you know, what it is today. I mean, it is really a revered classic by any horror fan.
There's nothing wrong with this movie. I mean, you have great practical body horror. You have the isolation horror. You have great acting from all these actors you know and you love. And it's just creepy. And you have the tension. You have everything. I love this movie. And you have Yosemite Sam's hat.
Yes.
And diabetes.
And diabetes. And beautiful dogs.
I love when Benning gets on the intercom and he's like, "You might turn that shit down. I got fucking shot today. God damn it."
I love that.
And Knowles is like, "All right, man, whatever."
Yeah, and he turns it up.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I was waiting for him to do. I was like, he ain't gonna listen to him.
No.
Like, you want me to cook your food, you can shut the fuck up.
I love how, what is it, when they had everybody in the room, he comes around, he yells at everybody. He's like, somebody needs to clean up their nasty ass underwear.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
Leaving it all
Who's
around here.
putting the nasty
Drawers,
drawers in
yeah.
my kitchen, you motherfuckers?
I love when Clark goes
Pardon
back out
that.
and sees he doesn't even know what he sees yet when he sees the dog transforming, and he just like blows the alarm.
And like when Child shows up finally with the fucking flamethrower, and he's like,
What
and
is
he's
it?
like, what the
What the
fuck?
hell
He
do
just
I-
thinks like everyone just pauses, like, because I mean that's such a real moment. Because if you actually saw
Yeah.
that, be like,
Yeah.
what the fuck? I need a second. I know I need to destroy this, but I just need one. Okay,
Like,
I gotta
what the
move.
fuck
on.
See,
is
my
this?
favorite part of that scene is when I don't even remember who it is, but he runs into Childs and he's like, Mac wants the flamethrower.
Yeah.
And he was like, "What?"
I think that was Benning, and he ran over like,
Yeah.
Max is get the flame. He's like, the fucking flamethrower. What the fuck are
I
you
know.
talking about?
I love that because it's a real reaction.
Yeah,
like,
'cause
why would we need a flamethrower?
Yeah, because imagine too, like you're sound asleep in the middle of the fucking night. All of a sudden, the fire alarm goes off, and you're thinking, like, man, what the fuck is this? Some nonsense bullshit. And like, get the flamethrower, hurry!
And they go, shit.
I
Stuff's
found it
going
funny that he
down.
set off the fire alarm. And again, what are fire alarms for? Fire alarms. And he's like, get the flamethrower. He's like, wait, what?
How the fuck is the flamethrower gonna put a fire out, you dumbass? That doesn't make no fucking sense. Holy shit, what the fuck is that?
And one of my notes that I had to write down after they burn the dog thing, and Walter Brimley is doing the.
Did you say Walter?
Walter.
I did.
Wilfred.
Sorry. Wilfred Brimley.
Hey, Walter's his brother, maybe. You never know.
Maybe.
Diabetes.
He's doing.
I want you to Google Walter Brimley
Walter
right now.
Brimley.
If it's not his brother, then it's a very nice man. We'll have to give him a call.
Yes,
So,
we will. I love when he's doing the autopsy, and I wrote down so much blood, so little gloves.
I know. I've always thought that. I'm like, what is the point? Like, I don't get that. Because I mean, I don't know if it's a movie thing, because it just makes me think that people in the fucking 80s were like, I have gloves on. Who cares if there's blood all over my forearms? It doesn't matter. I have gloves on. So either it's a
Yeah.
movie thing or people were just stupid back then.
Like, he's just like elbow deep in this
Yeah, it's
creature.
literally
like,
like-
what are you
And
doing?
like, and I love how he's so like just nonchalant. I'm like, well, what we got here?
Yeah,
is a thing. that-
he's just Wilfred
It-
Brimley.
It literally is. I'm like, you are putting me to sleep, Quaker
Yes.
Oats, right now. Like, it is just. Oh.
Yeah.
Even when he's telling, when like he's gone crazy or whatever, and they put him out in that little shack, he's like, McCready, watch Clark. I don't know why.
Yeah, he's like, you need
but
to watch him.
Clark.
You
Like,
need
he's
to pay
still
attention.
so like calm.
I know. Even when he freaks out and tries to kill everyone, he's like, "I'll kill you," and I'm like, "You're not even that like crazily mad. Like that is crazy for your Wilfred Brimley ass, but like it's not like a crazy person. Like when McCready went crazy, he's like, I will fucking blow us all up. I
Yes.
have a
Yeah.
flamethrower
And some
4
dynamite.
sticks of dynamite, motherfuckers. Try me."
Like, just try me.
But Blair was basically, he was like, nope, we're all dead now. Like, he realized it beforehand. And that's why he went
when
crazy.
he was doing, when he was doing his Atari,
Yeah, his
computer
Atari
simulation,
computer.
it was like
He was running a
population.
virology simulation on this.
It was literally, I'm like, this is like a video game I used to have in Atari. It's like, toot, 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 toot. Like you took over the other cell. Like, yay, we win. 27,000 hours until total world domination.
If they reach
If they
if
reach,
they
the mass
reach
pop-
it, yeah. But yeah, no, and he's just like breaking up everything. He's like, you guys don't know what's going on. I'm the only fucking one that knows. Like, he's just fucking throwing shit around. Oh,
It was his plan. So, okay, here's my question about Blair then. When he was destroying stuff, did it already get to him, or was he trying to be like, nope, we can't leave no matter what? Like, we're all fucked.
I think that.
I think that too. I think he was like, we're fucked. We can't let it get out. We're just dead at this point. And that's why he was like, I'll kill you because
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
I think it was that point because he realized, okay,
Kill
it's not
you.
just about us being alive; it's about self-preservation for everybody.
He was just trying to make sure that they took the proper quarantining steps, Paul.
I will kill all of you unless you send away for this free diabetes testing kit.
Yes.
I love how they take Blair out though. It's like a 1-2 punch.
Oh, I thought the table that always made me laugh because it's like they bring in that like skinny ass little like plastic folding table and it's like boom, that fucking axe goes straight through it, and then they corner him down. I'm like, you have to be careful with Wilford Brimley. He's an old man. Like,
Yes.
you're gonna like his leg's gonna break and oatmeal's gonna come out. Like, what the fuck, man? And then McCready just gives it like, and it has like the cheesiest, like the old '80s like like sound effects when he punches them, and I'm like, I love that. Even though it's like the cheesiest, it's almost like the Wilhelm scream. Like you've heard it a million times, but you still fucking love it. It's still in movies, and you're still like, I still love it. It's cheesy as fuck, but you love it.
And then they put him in his timeout check because he couldn't behave.
And that's when he was like, listen, you have to watch Clark.
So then I think something got to him in the shack then is what we're all led to believe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I think when they go back out there and he's just all crazy with his noose sitting out there eating shit out of cans and he's like, I want to come back inside. I think that's when he was taken.
Yeah. I was like, please.
He's like, I don't want to be in timeout
I'm not going to
anymore.
hurt anybody. I just want to come back inside. Like,
It's cold.
I'm fine now.
Yeah, like, okay. All right. We totally believe you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have another note here. Keith Davids is such a badass in this movie.
Yeah, he is.
He is. So
I always find it
Kurt.
funny. I find it funny because in the span of like 95 seconds, Childs, Keith David's character, when they're first discussing the stuff they found at the other camp, and then I think it's actually after McCready and them go out and see the spaceship and all that shit.
Yeah.
And then they're having that discussion, and then Keith David's like, "You believe all this voodoo bullshit?" And I'm like,
Oh, I know, and they're asking him questions, and McCready's like, I don't fucking know. We just found it, okay?
I don't know. Ask Quaker Oats. What the fuck do you want?
I
from
went
me?
over there. There's this thing in the ground. Bada bing, bada boom. We're back here telling you what we saw, okay?
He's like, you want me to go show you this fucking thing so you believe me?
You want me to believe this? I just stepped on a fucking spaceship buried in ice. You don't want to fucking believe me?
I'm
You're
telling
asking
you
walk
what
over
I
there
know,
yourself.
okay?
You're like,
I'm not a
here's-
doctor.
It's
I'm
like,
an
why would I make
alcoholic
this up?
PTSD war veteran that flies helicopters.
But they really show how quickly the whole group devolves.
Yeah.
Because, like, you can't trust anybody, right? And they know that there's something out there spreading amongst them.
Well, it's like that one thing where it's like, you know, you get to that thing, like there's something here. We don't know who has it. The only way we can know is a blood test or whatever after they figure that shit out. And it's like, how well do I really know these fucking people?
Yeah.
Well, I got the sense of everybody not really trusting anybody when McCready went into the room and started making that video recording, or not video recording, the cassette recording.
Oh, yeah.
Because even he says it is like, I don't know who to trust. Mm-hmm. And then he goes back and you're what? Does he re-record over it?
I think he like deletes part of it. I always took it that too. Like he rewinds it, listens to it, and then he rewinds a little more, and then just like records over it. So I'm like, did you even record anything then? Like,
Because that's where I got the sense of like, okay, nobody trusts anybody anymore because one, if not all, have been infected by now.
So also for our Arctic expedition, not only do we need someone that speaks Norwegian, we need a black box to have, shit like that will survive the blasts and all the shit that happens.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Or
Good-
really-
good plan.
Or
I really think if they made like a sequel today, you could start it with finding McCready's tapes.
Found
and then
footage.
just having the whole not the audio tapes,
Yeah.
not the like stuff like that, but just like you go in there and it's like, well, we found this place and it's like old and abandoned, that kind of fucking thing.
Yes.
So yeah, and then the shit starts over again. So I'm like, I think you could make it work.
It's like tapes like an Evil Dead. He's like, you should be
Yeah.
listening to this.
yeah.
The thing that I got is like nobody trusted anybody, right? And McCready's still trying to keep them all busy, so he keeps sending them to do tasks. But it's like at a certain point, McCready is under suspicion of being the thing, and so they cut him loose outside, and then they all turn against him because they all think he's the thing.
Because what was in it? What was it? Was it
Knowles.
Knowles who said he found his jacket all
Yeah.
torn up on the back?
It's like somebody tried to burn it.
Yeah, and that's when he comes in with the dynamite. He's like, "Are we gonna fucking dance? Because
I'm a
I'll
real
kill
light
y'all
sleeper,
anyway."
child.
Right?
I love how at that point they do make you try to believe that he was infected.
Yeah. I think that you don't really, I think that, because I had always seen bits and pieces of this. I don't remember the first time I watched this all the way through because it's just a movie I grew up with.
Yeah.
But I think that maybe they were trying to, maybe the tension held until the blood test for McCready.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned Evil Dead with the tapes, and I'm like, Deadites versus aliens?
Deadites versus the things. Like,
Get that?
like a Deadite comes and then the thing starts taking over the body it's in. Oh my God,
Like,
we
oh
have
no.
to make
Christ,
this.
like this is the mashup of the century right now.
Somebody get Carpenter and what's his face on the phone?
Raimi.
Raimi.
Carpenter and Raimi.
Yeah.
I think they give you that sense that maybe McCready is infected until you get to the part where Norris passes out or whatever, and he's like, he's not breathing, and they're like, all right, just get in there.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, you still have that kind of tension because it's like we don't know what the fuck's going on, but we have got a medical emergency. Because I think even Dr. Cooper's like, will you stop that bickering over there? I'm trying to fucking save this guy's life or whatever.
Yeah.
And then like once his arms get bit off, and that's when like McCready kind of like backs up and like all the guys are just shuffling out of the room really quick. So I think after that point they're like, all right, well, he put that thing on fire, so I don't think he would have done that if he was one. So I think they kind of were like, all right, we can trust him a little bit right now. And then you get the greatest fucking line in this whole movie. He's like, you got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
When Palmer, when the whole head thing.
The thing you gotta love about that though is when they set that on fire, the head falls off, and then you see it start slowly creeping away.
It spiders away.
And then Kim was like, "Oh no, it's gonna get away." But then when you see him do that iconic line of, you got to be fucking kidding me."
That's apparently Kurt Russell's favorite line from this movie.
Yeah, I love that part. It's such a great monster work.
Yeah.
On top of practical effects, on top of camera work, like it all just works so seamlessly
and it
together.
looks, and I know it's just 80s, special effects, the monster thing that they made with the head.
Head crab,
But when the head crab, when it's on fire, it's kind of like shaking and doing like this little thing, like, and I always in my head hear that like Scooby Doo, like,
yeah.
I love that scene just because it's something that you would think that if it's a parasite that's trying to take over things, an alien life form like that would do.
Yeah.
Because it's going to try to do whatever it can to self-preservate, and if it can sacrifice part of itself to get away, I just love
like, well, that shit's on fire. I'm out of here.
Yep.
Yeah.
I always am like, I just want to punt it, like just run up and kick it, like.
I think that would be my first instinct.
Yeah, they're like, fuck that, take it back into the fire. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, that's what you got to do.
I know people are like, you always see those fake videos of the dog dressed up like a spider or whatever running at people. I'm like, I would just feel bad because I would end up kicking that thing, because if something like runs up on me like that and it's that close to the ground, I'm kicking it.
You either punch it or kick it. Yeah, just punt.
Sorry, I kicked your dog.
You shouldn't have dressed it up as a fucking spider.
I love, though, when he goes back to do the blood tests. Well, he shoots Clark in the head, by the way, because Clark tries to knife him.
Hey, you know what? That's shit. Fuck it. Like, he was going to kill him if you didn't kill him. Like, he was the only one that was like, I'm not doing this shit. Like, you can fucking kill me. Like, boom. Because I even like Childs' like face when he's like, you need to shoot me. And then he's like, puts the gun up to him. He's like, do you really want to go there? Because I don't fuck.
There are aliens right now, Childs.
And then I think
Like,
Childs,
I think
that's the point where like Childs is like, all right, he might actually do something. And then 2 seconds later, like, boom, like right into fucking.
He just proved that he was
right
going to do
Clark's
something.
dome. Like, okay.
Well, I think Clark was always on the edge, because I think when in the beginning, when everybody starts kind of devolving, McCready says Childs and Clark are both not level-headed.
Yeah.
He's like,
well, I think
we all need to chill.
Yeah,
I think Clark
seems
more,
like they're
I think
like,
more so Clark, just because everybody assumed that he had been infected because he had been around the dogs that much.
Well,
Yeah.
it seemed like he was kind of a hothead too. And like that whole thing where they made Gary give up the gun or whatever, and Childs and the other guy, because Clark pulls the knife on Childs when he's like, nope, you're not getting the gun either.
Yeah.
And then he's like, so they both seem like kind of hot-headed, and I think they had kind of discussed as actors, the actors that played Clark and then Keith David who played Childs. He's like, we're the two like biggest guys. He's like on the crew or whatever for the for the film. He's like, there should be some sort of like animosity between us. So like they
Two
kind
alphas.
of he's like, they kind of discussed that as character traits for their characters, and it really plays out in that scene when he's like, no, you ain't get the fucking gun either.
Yeah. I love when he comes back and they tie everybody up and they do the blood test. Because, McCready's just like, I'm fucking done. Everybody's getting tied up. We're going to fucking get blood tests. This doing
is what
this.
we're going to do.
And I always thought the blood test was brilliant.
Yeah.
It's such an easy way. And like, I always thought it was a brilliant piece of storytelling, because you visually get to see who's infected. Like, you don't have to go with that generic like microscope scene or any of that kind of a thing. We didn't have to go back to the Atari computer simulation.
How boring
thing.
would it have been to be like, we're going to draw some blood and we're going to make, like, imagine if it was like a fucking like, you're testing your pool water, like, and we check the color
it's like
chart
it's
and
not. It is scientific, but at
You're
the
not
same time,
infected.
it's not very scientific, and you can be very visual with it, because even after the thing pops with Palmer and like the little thing like comes out or whatever, and he drops the blood. I love the effect of like the blood scattering away from everything.
The thing that cracked me up is when popped out of Palmer, and you still had two people still tied up next to
Like,
him.
give me that fucking
Yeah.
give me
Like,
And that's every time that scene happens, I'm like, God damn it, Windows! Like, get the shit out of your ass and fucking.
Yes.
You're the only one with a working flamethrower at that point because you had McCready in the background. It's like it's not. Staying
It's not
lit.
working.
Like there's something with
But
the fuel line, or I'm
Windows
out.
was not like he was
He
the
wasn't,
first one
like-
to go grab a gun. Like
Yeah.
he was the one who started that because he
He's
ran away
definitely-
from
yeah.
everybody. He
He's
was not equipped
definitely,
for
you
this.
know, a
He was-
psycho.
yeah.
I mean, he gets his shit kicked out of him by Blair for Christ's sake in the
Yeah.
in the communications room. So it's like, Windows is not the guy to be handling this, and it's like,
He's got
but
the
do something, man.
Yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah, that part made me just pull the fucking trigger.
Yeah.
can,
Come
uh,
on, Windows.
You can see because it's not Childs. It's Palmer that they do the blood test and they find out that he's
Yeah.
infected or whatever, and that's when he starts like convulsing or whatever, and then it starts to come out of him. So he's wearing a green shirt and a jean kind of like vest thing.
Yeah.
And it's funny because when he jumps to the ceiling, comes down, and then he's starting to have that fight with Windows, and he starts to absorb him or whatever. There's that shot where it's like their heads are connected kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes into a closer shot, and you can clearly see it's like a stunt guy who is wearing just a short green, short
Yeah.
sleeve green shirt and like no fucking, because you only
No
see
vest.
part make mid chest down, but it's like towards his back or whatever.
Yeah.
And you can just clearly see like there's no like jean vest there at all, and it's like they probably didn't want to get like the fake goop
Blood
and
all-
shit
yeah.
all over there because they already had to
Yeah.
film it with the other guy or whatever. But yeah, I was like little movie tidbits there.
Yeah, so then we have that little intermission to the blood tests, and then and then McCready comes back in and burns Windows because
Yeah,
now Windows is infected.
I always found it funny that it's like they burn that and then it goes outside and McCready just throws that stick of dynamite and kind of just blows it up.
Mm-hmm.
And then it just cuts to right back there like heating the wire again. Like, all right, we got
Yeah.
2 more, you motherfuckers. So
We
check
gotta
out.
do Nulls on freaking Child. And I love when they get down to Gary and they clear him and he's like, I know you boys have been through a lot.
Yes.
But if you could find the time, I would like to not spend the rest of the winter tied to this fucking couch. I always
love
love
that
that part. He's so mad, but I'm like, hey, I get it,
The
man.
thing that cracks me out about it is like he was one of the people that was freaking out because of all that shit. And they still hadn't untied him.
Well, it's
he
like,
just sits there.
well, yeah, well, it's like even
Motherfuckers.
Child's like after they do his, he's like, cut me loose. Like he has that whole thing where he's like, get me the fuck out of here.
Come on.
It's like, you haven't tested him yet. And you're still got me shackled up to him. So it's like, because they did suspect him because of the
Yeah.
whole, he had the keys and,
Yeah.
whoever smashed the blood or whatever. It's like that whole fight about,
Yeah, that's why
well,
McCready
you borrowed
says-
the keys. So you was the one.
Yeah,
Like,
and McCready says, you were the only one who could get to that blood. We'll do you last. So that's
then
why
who
he's
did
last.
get to the blood?
I still think
know.
it was Palmer.
Yeah, it had to have been. It had to have been somebody.
Well, how did he get the keys then? I don't remember. Like,
I don't know.
there was a whole thing about, well, I gave the keys to you and then blah, blah, blah. Like,
Who knows? But then they go out to give Blair the test, and Blair is missing.
Like, well, for Brimley disappeared.
And then they find the secret underground igloo
I know,
thing.
how
that
did
he
he
made.
He did. He was.
okay, I'm assuming that underground thing had to have already been there because I don't think this fucking alien just dug that all out and
Just
started
dug that-
milling shit.
where
like,
did he
Okay.
put the rest of the snow? I mean, he couldn't have just dug it all out,
Yeah.
right?
He just
Yeah, I was about
melted
to say,
it.
is like that dude was
But at
efficient.
the same time, they go down there and there's a fucking makeshift UFO down there, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what are you doing? You building
but-
an escape out of here?
But if that already had all the supplies to do that shit, because I don't, because again, we don't know what the fuck they were doing there, but they had like forklifts and like tools
Snow
and shit like
piles,
that. So I
yeah.
mean, they
Yeah.
had stuff to do, and build stuff or whatever. So there probably could have been a welder and shit down there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who knows? It was an underground, workshop basement thing.
Yeah. But then they leave Childs. They left Childs in the main building to go out to get Palmer.
Yeah.
Or to go out to get Blair. And they see him. Null sees him, right? Like, and it's kind of clear that he walks out of the building and runs away.
Yeah.
But he's kind of shaky about it. I've always noticed that it always, to me, looked like he was getting taken over at the time. Just like Bennings did.
Yeah.
Cause,
Like while he was on the run.
yeah.
Like, I haven't finished yet.
Yeah, like he just like runs away a little bit. So I'm like, okay, I think I do think at the end of this that Childs is infected. What do you say, Saul?
I think it was McCready.
You think McCready's
I
infected?
think McCready was infected. I know one of those two was infected.
Yeah.
My strong feeling would have been it was McCready. Because when he kills the big giant whatever need be with all that blood splatter somewhere, you would think he would have gotten infected somehow there.
Well, we don't really see that guy die though. We just see the big explosion, right?
Yeah.
See who died? Who are you talking about?
The
big
Dr.
creature
Blair
thing, yeah.
creature.
Oh yeah. Okay. I know what it is.
You know who it is?
I know who it is.
Who is it, Paul?
Between McCready and Childs.
Yeah.
So I read an article a few years ago, and they basically said that Carpenter kind of confirmed this. So at the end, right, you get McCready and Childs, and they're sitting there, and he's like, well, where were you? Well, I went over here and did this. Where were you? And blah, blah, blah. Like, what are we going to do now? He's like, let's just sit here and figure it out, right?
Well, yeah, McCready's like, neither of us are in any shape
Yeah.
to do anything
Yeah.
about
Like,
anything.
So you see McCready drink the whole time. Like I said,
Yeah.
PTSD, Vietnam, blah, 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 alcoholic, right?
J&B, right?
J&B
Yeah.
Scotch.
Ugh.
Just that's his choice, right? He has the bottle with him. He gives it to Childs. Childs takes a drink, and then McCready kind of just has a little smile, and then it cuts to black, right?
Yeah.
So from what I've read, Carpenter said that McCready was an alcoholic. He wouldn't have shared with Childs unless there was a reason. So what happens basically is the theory, or what he kind of confirmed, was McCready fills that up with like diesel fuel that was in those big barrels, that pink shit, I'm assuming, or whatever kind of fuel that was.
Yeah.
He fills it up with that, and he gives it to Childs, and he's like, if he drinks it, and it's like,
Then I
what
know
the
it's
fuck
him.
is this? And spits it out. He's like, human.
Yeah.
If not, how's this alien going to know what alcohol tastes like? And,
True.
you know, shit like that. So when he takes a sip and nothing happens, and he has that little smirk, it's kind of like he knows that he's the last one.
Yeah.
Cut to black. Movie's over.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, that makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
Like, the only reason why I was thinking it was McCready is because when he goes off on that spiel about how it's not trying to escape, it's waiting everybody for it to die, because all it wants to do now is get frozen and wait
Yeah.
for them to do that.
Well, at that point, it's like he just needs to be the last person to freeze
So that's-
again,
yeah.
and it'll be fine.
So that's why I thought it was McCready, because like, okay, he knows what the thing is, like what it needs, what it's trying to accomplish now. So to me, when he was sitting down talking there to Childs, it's like, okay, I've won because all I got to do is just wait you out.
See, that's what I'm saying. You have a sequel now. You go back and you find whatever, you know, Childs, whatever he
Yeah.
did with Childs,
Yeah.
or whatever McCready did. I mean, McCready died probably.
Yeah.
Well,
Let's be
yeah,
honest,
see,
right?
I would
So,
think
like,
that McCready would be smart enough to blow both of them up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just blow both of them up. There's no remains left, or there's pieces there. But either way, like, nobody's going to find all of them, right?
Yeah.
I would assume, like, okay, you're the last one, especially if he knew he was the last one. Because he had already said earlier, we're not getting out of here,
Yeah,
guys.
we're not getting out of here alive. He even
Well,
said
yeah,
that.
at the point as the fucking base or whatever the fuck they were, at a point that it was just like there's not even a structure anymore. Like it's not even.
Yeah.
There's no shelter basically. Like,
Well,
we're fucked.
he puts together from Dr. Blair, he's like, he understood that if this ever got out, it would be
Yeah.
the whole world. So I think McCready is ready to go down with the ship at that point. I think he understands the
Well, yeah,
implications. like,
like I said, at a certain point, like there's no choice. Like
Yeah.
you're fighting the elements at this point, and now that everything's blown up, it's like, all right, well,
better
See,
make
that
it
would
quick.
be- I would love now to see a sequel, because then they would confirm who it was.
yeah, you pick it up from there, or you see like whatever. I mean, either way, they're both dead, or obviously. If you need a sequel, then something else froze, or they go back and they
Yeah.
find other shit. I mean, who knows?
Well, I
You
mean,
could-
the
you could
fucking
take this anyway.
ship is still out there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you could take this anywhere. Like I said, they go back to the ship, or something else comes out, or someone else finds there are more Norwegians. Go look.
More Norwegians.
We had something here 38 years ago. I don't know what happened to
We
it.
forgot. Somebody goes looking for their missing dad that never came back from an
Yeah.
expedition. You
I
know?
think what I love the most about this movie
Ooh,
was just the
here's what
ending.
we'll do. Sorry, Sal. Here's what we'll do. Like I said with They Live, we have, Keith David's character's, daughter or whoever come look for him. Like,
there you go.
It's the same thing. It's just somebody comes, one of their family. It's Keith David's kid again. It's just, we're all going to keep coming to find out what the fuck happened to Keith David. That's my whole goal in life, just to make sequels based on Keith David movies.
Where is
okay.
Keith
There's
David?
gonna be a Roadhouse sequel. They're like, he was a bartender here once. Looking for my dad.
Yeah, there you go. And yeah, I agree with you, Sal. The ending is so great because it's
That's-
kind of ominous.
I love the ending just because it's up to the viewer to try to figure out who was who. Mm-hmm. And like I said, with what Paul said, I love that if that was the reasoning behind it, it adds more of an element to it. But if you take that away, everybody will have their reasoning on why they think who was infected and who wasn't infected. Because, like I said, I felt like it was
personalizes
it personalizes it. Like I said,
yeah.
when we saw the end, like how I said, I thought it was McCready just because how he went on his spiel about how it doesn't want to. It wants to preserve itself now because it knows everybody here is going to have to die.
Yeah, it's like I think McCready says it is like it can survive in the ice. Like, obviously it did.
He's like it survived there for what? Like he said something like 100 years until somebody else
100,000 or something like that.
Knows, right?
He was like, but based because when they go to the UFO, he's like based on where the ice is, it was been like 100,000 years or something like that.
The tectonic shift in the like I don't care. Just how old
Just
is
give
it,
me
man?
a year, man.
So like I said, the way I conveyed it was that it's like, okay, he knows what it wants. It knows what it's trying to do again. So to me, it made me feel that, okay, it's in him now. And that's why he's doing all these other things, because it's like, okay, I need to find a way to self-preserve myself this way. And then again, on the flip side with, what's his name? Childs, again, it's like if he was the one who was infected, the one thing I would really like to see is how he got infected with it.
See, that's where we start the movie. It's just the two of them sitting there, and then we have, Childs and McCready fighting or something, or how that ends, and but obviously McCready's gonna have to get infected somehow. But like, here's my other question though: is like, it doesn't take very long. Like once the thing comes to attack you, Because if you saw like with the dogs, like it was immediate. Like that dog just went in there and kind of just stood there for a second, and all of a sudden it was like, blah, 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 and then just shit started coming out, and when it started fucking jizzing all over that poor dog in the corner.
Oh, I know, that poor dog was like, please
what
stop.
The fuck?
Please
I was like,
stop.
I actually felt for the fucking dog, because I'm like, because they're literally just squirting shit from across
It's like
the room.
Jell-O
And it's
at
like,
him.
I can't go this way. I can't
Like,
go
poor
that way.
dog.
Like,
It does. You can see the look in the dog's eyes. It's like, no.
motherfucker.
It's like,
what
you
is
motherfuckers are not paying me for this shit. What are you doing?
But no, I completely agree. I think anybody can have a different response to the ending in this one. And I like that we don't have a sequel or more to it, because I just like to think that McCready blew them up and then
Just figured it out.
and then that was
Yeah,
it.
but okay, but that's still saying like you don't know what else is still out at the ship.
Well, that's true. You
don't
don't know
what
what
else.
out there.
Like the Norwegians found that maybe still frozen somewhere at their old base. Like who knows? Maybe there is an infected dog somewhere that just laid down to freeze while no one was looking at at the McCready's base or somewhere.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's lots of ways you can go with this. As long as we get a fucking ending or a pickup from this one, like the other one seamlessly went into this one. I want the same thing if they ever did a sequel, just seamlessly into a third one. Or to finish out this one, and then 38 years later, like.
But yeah, this movie was awesome. It's shame on you if you haven't seen it by now.
Yes,
and I know
it's
there's a lot of
amazing.
people that need to be I wouldn't say shame.
I'm just gonna say oil. Maybe they're looking for oil,
Yeah,
and they
it
find
could
the
be.
ship again. That's how you start. Then you go to the other bases, and you see all that shit. Yeah, it's like it starts over again. With
No,
completely
we're gonna
new
go
people.
out into completely left field. It's all nice and melted now because of global warming, and they go over there, and that's how they can find everything, because global warming has happened, and it's
Wouldn't
just
that
melted
be
all
some
the
shit?
snow.
Like, wouldn't that be some shit? Like, it just all starts melting like that, and then like if movies have told us anything, there's fucking
There's something
aliens out
Aliens.
there. There's the fucking Transformers out
Yeah.
there. I mean, who knows what the fuck? Fucking Captain America's out there somewhere. Like, all this shit's gonna happen. Like all the weird shit that the Nazis did in the
You're gonna
fucking
unleash
in
Captain
World War
America.
II, all these like weird
You're gonna
experiments.
unleash
Yeah, we're gonna find all
Megatron.
this
Red
shit.
Skull's under there somewhere.
Megatron's out there. The Thing's out there.
Who knows, man? It's
That's
just-
how we end. It's the scientists are like, no, guys, we have to stop global warming, because they know that
Yeah.
shit is under the
You know,
ice out
fucking
there.
Woolly mammoths are gonna come back for just no fucking reason. Like it's just gonna be like
That's gonna be where the lizard people are. That people think of the
Seriously,
lizard
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Like
The
it's
lizard
just
people,
gonna.
we told you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to live with those people. So let's just keep that ice frozen, guys.
Yes. So if anything else, just stop global warming.
Stop
so we
global
don't
warming.
get taken over by whatever's buried in the fucking ice out there.
That's where they threw
We
the
don't
stuff
know.
after the 80s, because
It
they're
is.
like, if
They're
we
like-
throw it over here, it'll
They're
freeze.
like, it'll freeze and
Yeah.
nothing will happen ever.
See, we gotta curb global warming, guys.
Yes,
we
we
really
do.
gotta get it together.
There's your horror PSA. Stop
There you
global
go.
warming.
Horror PSA. Now I'm like the stuff and the thing crossover with They Live. Like who are we? We're gonna make all these mashups. Like
Yes.
The true A true mashup
Yes.
of 80s horror.
I don't think we can say any more about this movie. And how
No,
awesome it
it's
was.
amazing. That's it for this week. That was The Thing. We're coming back next week with John Carpenter's Christine from Stephen King, and I love that movie. It's amazing. But you can check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/scarynerd. You can email us with any questions, comments, or concerns at podcast@scarynerd.com. And that's it for this week. Do you guys have anything else?
Bye, everyone.
Do you know what the worst job probably is?
What?
A guy that's got to clean up at a strip club.
Oh,
Because you probably
in a pandemic? Oh,
That's not
God.
even, okay, pandemic or otherwise.